What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. And in today's video, we're going to be picking up with a full story. This is the entirety of Rise of the Powers of X, issues 1 through 5. And if you're trying to get caught up on everything that has happened before the Fall of X, with the Fall of X, and Fall of the House of X, you're going to want to check out the links at the top of this video, as well as down in the description. It's going to get you caught up on everything that is going on with the X-Men. But to bring this into perspective, what is currently going on is that mutant kind, yet again, is facing extinction, with Orchis descending down on them, trying to destroy the nation of Krakoa. Mutant kind finds themselves on the run, but there are much bigger things at play, because Orchis has been used as a puppet. Nimrod, Omega Sentinel, the AIs, they're trying to take over. And if that wasn't enough, there are dominions that live outside of time and space. For all intents and purpose, this is a god. Dominionhood means godhood. And mutant kind is facing against a dominion that is Nathaniel Essex. With the dominions descending down, there is only one force out there that is strong enough to face these gods. That, of course, is the Phoenix. This is the Phoenix versus the gods. So make sure you guys have subscribed to the channel, make sure that you like this video, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright guys, so we are jumping 10 years into the future. The Tower of Nimrod the Lesser. We have Nimrod, Omega Sentinel, and Emma Frost. We have seen that Nimrod and Omega Sentinel, they really are ahead in this war. Mutant after mutant has fallen. This is just yet another casualty in this war. But we do see the overconfidence of Nimrod, talking about how the mutants really thought that they could win. But Omega Sentinel reminds him that they did win. They had burned down the machine firmament with the Phoenix fire. They destroyed Nimrod. That's why Omega Sentinel was sent back. She's really telling Nimrod that he needs to check his confidence. And Nimrod must ask the question, even with so few of them left, you really believe that there is an opportunity that they could rise up again, that they could win somehow, some way. And she lets him know that there is a possibility, but the window for that opportunity, it is closing quickly, because tomorrow they meet their new god. This is what picks us up with Mystique and Gambit. John Ironfire dead on the ground. They are currently on a covert mission to gather some information, with Raven having the information in her head. They're now trying to make their getaway. Obviously, things went sideways, but knowing how valuable this information is, this is when Gambit decides that he's gonna go on a suicide mission. Every part of him can go boom. He's gonna blast Mystique away out of this place. With his detonation, Mystique is able to get outside. She is able to contact the professor, telepathically downloading the information. That is when the Sentinels descend. Raven completely surrounded, going out, guns blazing. This is what takes us to the Broken Sword Station. We see that Professor X is in fact Sync, body ravaged by his powers. He informs everybody else in the room that they are all dead, but they were able to do it. They've got their location. This is where we see Iron Man, but an AI imprint of a long-dead Tony Stark in his final suit. We have Captain Krakoa, that is Kamala Khan. And it appears that along the way, Kamala Khan was made a captain of Krakoa. We have Shadow Tiger. This is Kate Pryde after consuming the dead seed. And of course, still standing is Wolverine. This is what takes us to the Orchis Forge, currently in deep space. We have Omega Sentinel, Moira, and Nimrod. As they observe all of this, Moira says that she had seen something similar like this in her 6th life. But in that lifetime, that was 1,000 years from now. How is it here? How is it here now? And for Omega Sentinel, this is simple. She brought all the knowledge of technology from the far future here so they could defeat the mutants. Bring it to a time era where they are not prepared. It had taken them 5 years to build what they needed. And then they aimed it at Mars. 5 years of all this work and they finally have the World Mind. And the World Mind's purpose is to attract a Dominion. Bring in the Dominion so that you can go into the larger whole. All of their data, all of it part of a perfect machine outside of time and space. As they head off for the evening, this is when they run into Dr. Stasis. Still alive, still working for Orchis. He has come to inform them that another X team has been wiped off the map. The bad news is that they have the information. This is when Omega Sentinel tells them to quickly increase security scans on Phobos. Picking up there, that is where we have our heroes. They are trying to get in and out without being detected in the slightest bit, with the Iron Man AI trying to get through the force field. It sends off the alerts. There is a giant boom. This alert is notifying Nimrod and the others, as they take off for one last fight before they meet their god. Nimrod now understands that there was a chance. Omega Sentinel was right. Even now, they can still win. This is when Moira activates the World Mind. This is where we pick up with Dr. Stasis meeting up with Cadena. They are currently at the Vault in Ecuador. Dr. Stasis has come to let her know it is time. Dr. Stasis plans to beat all of them. On Phobos, all hell is breaking loose. Nimrod is on the battlefield and he is recognizing the Deathseed infected Kate Pryde. He understands her capabilities, and Nimrod adapts. He adjusts, and he is able to neutralize her, knocking Kate Pryde out, her body limp on the ground. This is where we see the World Mind initiating. We see the World Mind stabilizing. It reaches out to attempt contact, and it makes that contact. This is when the Dominion arrives, and inside the vault, the temporal acceleration pocket. Dr. Stasis will admit that the AI's plan is very clever, but the AI can't have ideas like humans can. So Dr. Stasis decided to take what they had from the future and give it to a supreme intelligence he constructed from humanity's greatest intellects. And inside the vault, they had longer than 10 years to chew over this problem. The AI may be bringing their god here to beg to join it, but Dr. Stasis wants to do the human thing and simply kill it. This is where we see some kind of glowing orb transported to the sun, and this causes the sun to black out completely. On this battlefield, Nimrod is noticing that the sun is going out. Not sure what's happening. The X-Men needed a distraction, so this is when Sync, he reaches out. Using his unique abilities, he takes on the powers of Apocalypse. With this newfound strength, he smashes in the face of Nimrod. Having one last opportunity, Kate Pryde able to have one more phase shift left in her. She grabs Wolverine, does a fastball special, phases him into the building, and this is where Wolverine runs into Diamond Sinister. This was their target. They had locked him away because they couldn't risk him having a failsafe, which he admits was a very smart decision, considering he does have a failsafe. Asking how they're getting out of here, Wolverine says there is a failsafe, and then he guts Sinister. As we pick up in space, that little orb that absorbed the sun, it takes all of that energy and it shoots it right at the Dominion. This has blacked out all of the Dominion's intelligence, reducing it to pure processing power. What this did is wipe away any mind or any person that might be in the Dominion, and they can upload whatever they want into it. This was obviously Dr. Stasis's plan. This is when he says activate. The children of the Vault have been betrayed. Of course, Dr. Stasis backstabbed them. He did all of this so he could reach Dominion himself. Today, he becomes a god. Today, he becomes a Dominion. As he puts on his helmet and the power surges through him, almost instantly, everything stops, and Dr. Stasis is confused. This was supposed to work. The Dominion was an empty husk ready for his mind to take its place, but he learns that it's being consumed by another Dominion. Before he can say anything more, this is where Rasputin drives her sword right through his chest. Killing him, she believed that she had stopped it all from happening, only to recognize that it is too late. This is when Rasputin is told it is time for her to leave, that timeline is about to collapse. Picking up with the Dominion, Nimrod, and Omega Sentinel. Nimrod is saying that you are not my AI god, but Enigma lets him know that I definitely am. Once a mortal man, but now it is AI. Now it is Enigma, and he is their new god. This was once Nathaniel Essex, creating 4 versions of himself to scour reality for ways to become a Dominion. The mutant, the post-human, the arcane, and the alien. All the roads led to Enigma. All of this made possible because of Sinister, making the Moira engine the ability to reset the timeline whenever he wished. So each of these attempts, they could happen, be consumed, and then reset. Enigma watched, ensuring he would never remember timelines when he discovered his peers were the other Dominion attempts. But with Sinister dead, the failsafes activate. Enigma watches as all of this happens, existing outside of time and space. Enigma cannot be prevented, inevitable as the period at the end of the sentence. We are watching how it came to be. We are watching how Enigma won. This is where that reality ends, and we pick up in No Place X. Rasputin is returning, saying that she has failed, and we see with her is Charles Xavier and Doug, aka Cypher. And Professor X is saying that they were successful in stopping Stasis Ascension 9 times, better than what was achieved with the other Essex clones. They knew that it was likely impossible to prevent Enigma Dominion from coming into existence, but they had to try. But now they must walk a much harder path. They must put in the contingency plan. Now, Charles isn't 100% sure he wants to let Rasputin in on this information. She is their primary field agent. The less she knows, the better. They worry that if she is captured or Enigma may be watching, this information may get out. If this information gets out, they're gonna do what they can to prevent it. But Rasputin demands to know this information, saying that she will no longer go out into the field until she knows what is truly going on, that she will not follow blindly again. And so Charles, he lets her in. They plan to make a strike that'll end the entire timeline. The Dominion would cease to be, cutting it off at the roots. The plan is to find Moira before her gifts activate when she is 13. If they kill her then, all of this goes away. Krakoa would have never been, and it will never be. And that's where this issue will end. But before we get into my thoughts on this, there is a battlefield layout of the timelines. We get a visual of the timeline as created by the actions and misuse of Moira's mutant gift. Now, there is Timeline A. Timeline A is where Moira's gift activates. From there, it branches into 2 different directions. Moira's lives 1 through 9, but Moira's 10th life is where it gets more complicated. Now, prior to the Moira engines being created, it branches off into Omega Sentinel's timeline, but she was sent back into time. Once the Moira engine is created, we branch into 4 different timelines. We have the Stasis timeline, which we just saw. We have the Sinister timeline, which we have already seen in the Sins of Sinister. And what is yet to come is the Orchis timeline, his attempt at trying to become a Dominion. And then we have the timeline that we are currently in, where Enigma comes online. And then there are a couple things existing outside of time and space. One of them, of course, being the Dominion, being Enigma. But you also have the White Hot Room. And then you have No Place X. This place being transformed and improved by Krakoa itself. Under the guidance of Cypher's gift, it has developed an ability to exist outside of time and space, and so it is impossible to be directly observed by an entity such as a Dominion. Alright gang, so as we start off with this issue, we pick up with a little dialogue from Enigma. He is watching a young Moira in her 10th life. In 20 minutes, her X gene is going to activate, but in her 10th life, she is going to have a new plan, one that Enigma would love to see her try, but he knows that she is mistaken, that there is one more thing she can try, and Enigma will be the one to offer it. Not yet, but later on. as he continues to look throughout all of time, as he observes everything that is ongoing. He does make note of Cyclops in prison. He thinks that Jean Grey will save him, but apparently Jean Grey is dying along with the Phoenix. As he continues to observe, he sees Shadowcat smashing through a Sentinel, X-Men fighting for a future that is already lost. He is able to see everybody except Xavier. He moves back through time. He tries to trace the steps to see where he might have gone, tracking him through the years and to the now, exploring the ruins of the Moira engine. He had headed back to Krakoa, but this is where he lost him, and so now he goes looking. This is his new mission, to find Professor X. This is what takes us to No Place X, as close to nowhere as science can allow. We pick up with Cypher, Rasputin, and Charles. They know they must proceed to their second plan, interfere with Moira, do this before her powers activate. And Charles is telling everybody that he's gonna have a little chat with her. Only a select few people actually know that this is an assassination attempt. But what we also see is Rachel and Mother Righteous. Mother Righteous is trying to let them know that Enigma has already run, that the plan they're trying, it's not gonna work. In all of this, we get a little bit of a data page, just an understanding of where everything is currently standing. They have yet to tell us how Cypher was able to return, but what they do tell us is that he is piloting the enhanced Moira's No Place. This allows them to move around if they ever get caught, an opportunity to escape before Enigma or something else absolutely decimates them. They use Rachel Summers, Mother Righteous, apparently contained inside of an egg, but they don't tell us who this person is that assisted them. It has been redacted, but this really stops her from being able to perform any magic or anything else. Mother Righteous did create a copy of herself. This copy is the one that we saw in the White Hot Room, the one that had taken Jean Grey into the desert. It appears that Mother Righteous had been captured, and so they're using Mother Righteouses to pass messages back and forth between one another, holding them at gunpoint saying that if you don't do this, we're gonna put a bullet in you. And Rasputin is the security, in charge of all the protection of No Place. With her unique set of abilities, it allows her to maintain structural integrity to survive outside of No Place. And then of course Charles, who plans to assassinate Moira. Mother Righteous really wants to make a deal with them. She believes that with her help, they can stop Enigma. They can stop all of this from happening. But Cypher doesn't believe her. Cypher believes that she's just got some kind of trick up her sleeve, that even her body language shows signs of lying. As they discuss how they're going to handle these situations, Doug says that he really thinks they should go back in time and take Moira out when she's a baby. But they have no idea what is in fact true and what is not. Xavier continues going on talking about how he just needs to talk to her, that he needs to get all the data that he can, and then figure out what to do from there. Really, Charles has plans to put a bullet in her, not when she's in infancy, just when she's a preteen. No matter what, everything they are doing are long shots. The trip to Moira seems to be the least dangerous of all their options. In the White Hot Room, we have Hope, who has a gun pointed directly at Mother Righteous. Mother Righteous is saying that Rachel's team are resurrected and ready, but it doesn't elaborate on how they were resurrected. Asking how things in the White Hot Room are generally, we get a small glimpse of it, and this place is a little bit in turmoil. Jean Grey seems to be pretty wounded, stuck in some kind of trance. The truth is, it's just not going great. All because Mother Righteous tried to sacrifice the Phoenix to achieve dominionhood. Now, Enigma is still searching for Charles. He moves forward in time. He waits for the moment that Charles pops up, and that's when he sees him. Enigma learns that they grew a No Place, something that is nearly impossible to find, but only nearly. What he sends in, these are Arachno Sentinels. He lets them fall out of space, and as they fall through the nothingness, spinning webs waiting for the slightest thump of reality. When they finally hit something, that is when the hunter-killers will converge. So what Enigma is doing is sending these giant spiders out into nothingness. He knows roughly the idea of where to drop them, but not exactly. And so he lets them fall until they do hit something. Whether it be Charles or not, he's gonna send them in. Taking us back over to Rasputin having a conversation with Charles. Rasputin is very curious on what Charles plans to do, because she knows that Charles wants to go back to kill Moira. Her big question, why keep it from Rachel? Why keep it from the others? The difference is, Rachel still believes. Charles doesn't anymore. He believes that he is doing this with a clear head, that this must be done no matter what. Charles has finally accepted that Krakoa was nothing more than a dream. Krakoa was never going to work. The place that he had in his mind, it was never real. But they saved the world no matter what. No matter what the cost, and today, that cost is Krakoa. Rasputin is still going along with this, but she doesn't trust him entirely. After how she has been manipulated by both Sinister and Mother Righteous, she will not be anybody's pawn ever again. This is when they get hit. As Cypher goes to try and move them away from here, Rasputin does what she does best. She heads into battle, with one of the Sentinels taking a heavy blast. Rasputin pulling out her sword, she begins to swing away, while she is out there cutting down Sentinels like freaking butter. Charles and Cypher have a conversation, and we learn that Cypher is in fact Mr. Sinister. He says that he wanted to eavesdrop on Rasputin and Charles having a conversation, but apparently there is something more inside of Rasputin that he doesn't want discovered, saying that he was going to eavesdrop, but that would have revealed what else he loaded into the clone. Of course, Charles yells at him to put that diamond away, to get that diamond off of your forehead, that these kind of games aren't gonna work. If Rasputin finds out that Doug is in fact Sinister, she will burn the whole place to the ground. She would never trust Charles. All of this would be absolutely destroyed. With Rasputin taking out one of the last Sentinels, we see a huge detonation. No place begins to move. Rasputin barely holding on. And so as they get back inside, the mission is ready to go. Charles is about to walk through, letting Rasputin know to keep the door open, that Doug is on ops. This is what takes us to Moira. We pick up on Earth, the X-Men invasion. Nimrod is letting her know that their human allies are crumbling, but we see Nimrod get dropped. And as he drops, a voice comes to Moira, letting her know that in 10 years' time, they will all be part of a perfect god machine. The AI will be the only winner. This is when Moira sees in front of her Enigma writing to her that they don't win, I win. And now he wants to have a conversation. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up with a 12-year-old Moira. Right now, she is just on the verge of being 13 years old. She knows the way that her life should be going, but today she found something new. Today when she went down to the lake, what she found waiting for her was Charles Xavier. And Charles lets her know not to run, that it will do you no good. Everyone within half a mile is frozen, and he is telling her that he just wants to talk. But Moira's not dumb. This is the day that her powers are supposed to activate. He came here today for a reason, and Xavier lets her know that he does want to talk, but this is a talk to explain why he is going to do what he is about to do. He needs her to understand why, but this will also be the last conversation that Moira ever has. As we hop into present day, we have Moira Sentinel that gets a little bit of a conversation with a Dominion, and though Omega Sentinel shows up just for a moment, she does take off, and the conversation between Moira and the Dominion, Enigma, continues. What he says is that Enigma is the one that brought Omega Sentinel here. It all started with the taming of the Phoenix, of the forming of the Phoenix Blade, and then the decimated AI life calling out to higher Dominions for rescue. Dominions and Titans descend in the timeline to wage war. The Warlost, the Child of the Sun armed with the Phoenix Blade, pursues and destroys intelligences beyond number, with Omega Sentinel posing as a Titan. her consciousness sent back in time via a black hole. The previously existing Omega Sentinel, that intelligence is annihilated, replaced with the consciousness of the future Omega Sentinel. And then we have Orchis being formed, Nimrod joining the Inner Circle, the defeat of Krakoa, and what comes next is the World Mind. Using the knowledge of the future, Orchis transforms Mars into a world mind. They do this in 10 years' time. At least, that is what they are hoping that they can accomplish. But he wants Moira to join her, because if she joins Enigma, Enigma could travel to all of her previous lives, travel up and down the timelines of all of those lives, and she is the key to all of it. As it stands, Enigma is trapped inside this timeline with these people, saying that he can assist with Nimrod's present AI uprising. But Moira really wants to know what's in it for her. As we pick up at No Place X, Rasputin is out here wielding her sword, decimating these Sentinels. But even with her grand power, they keep coming. They begin to breach. And we have Doug Ramsey, aka Sinister, hiding in the body of Doug Ramsey. He is doing everything he can to get these little things to grow. Needless to say, they are struggling. Picking back up with Xavier and young Moira. She has to know, does it not work, or does it go so badly? How does it get bad enough to make Charles Xavier kill a 12-year-old child? And he tells her that the man he was before would have never done this. This is the man left behind after Moira convinced him best to compromise. That she did everything she did, and then she betrayed them. For Moira, it is always about saving her own skin. As she goes to run away, Xavier says that he knows what he's throwing away, that he wanted to be part of a family, he wanted to be loved. He has learned everything was a mistake. He thought he could have the best of both worlds, but he had to make a choice, forcing Moira to stop. Moira had once told him it's not a dream if it's real, but he believes it now needs to be a dream again. Charles Xavier, the curator of the dream, he is dead. The two of them, they killed him, and so the dream must go on without him, and the world will go on without Moira. As we pick up at No Place X, we see Sinister activating failsafe untouchable, and Rasputin is obligated to go and protect him. This is the moment that she learns this is Sinister, and she has just realized if this is his plan, then it's the wrong plan, that they must abort. Yelling to Rachel that it's not Ramsey, it is Sinister, and that they must stop Xavier from killing Moira. With Charles holding that gun to Moira's head, he tells her that there is no other way, that this is the kindest path moving forward, and that is the most petrifying thing of all of this. But before that bullet is able to reach Moira's head, Rasputin has come in and stopped the bullet. She immediately attacks Charles, and she is enraged, standing with Sinister, lying to her. He tries to explain that this is all his plan, but he doesn't have the time to explain any of this. That she can hate him all she wants, but he's gotta stop Moira before her powers activate. In his hand, throwing down some red diamonds, turning into sinister shades. They hold down Rasputin as Charles runs after Moira. Now Rachel tries to telepathically communicate with Charles and figure out what's going on. And Rachel is the one that says her team wants to talk about the dream, about Krakoa, about what it means, why it can't just be wiped away, especially not like this. This is when Charles says that he doesn't want to destroy Krakoa, a change of heart, saying that he will save mutant kind some other kind of way. Right now, he is hoping that Moira's gonna make the right decision in the end, that she thinks of someone other than herself, making her forget about all of this. Charles and Rasputin leave. He tells Rasputin that he has a lot to explain, that he regrets all of this, but they have to cover their tracks. As they disappear, we pick up with Moira. Enigma is more or less offering her some kind of dominionhood. Now, Enigma says that he can't be stopped, that in this timeline the Phoenix is dead, that all will be consumed. He is offering Moira an exception, an independent subroutine to an endless engine that is Enigma. She will be a titan inside of Enigma, and she can be whatever she wants to be, whenever she wants to be, however she wants to be. And Moira takes the deal. A port being opened up, and Moira sees the universe. She falls away, and we pick up at No Place X. As soon as Rasputin returns, she pulls out her sword and she drives it into the stomach of Sinister. While Charles had tried to dispute this, there was no need for Sinister any longer, that she must have her revenge. And from the other room, Rachel begins to yell at Charles. He tries to explain things, explaining that the alternative is worse. It is much worse and much more unlikely, but he says that they win, that they're gonna try it. They're gonna try the other way. They are going to attempt to resurrect the Phoenix. And when Rachel turns around, that is when Charles puts a round directly into her back. Alright gang, we pick up at No Place X. Professor X, or now deemed Traitor X. He stands above Rachel's body. He just put a bullet in her. Obviously, Rasputin is furious. Without hesitation, she pulls out her sword and she goes to swing, telepathically communicating with Mother Righteous. She has the power to stop Rasputin, and so for Mother Righteous's freedom, she will stop her, saying a few words. This is a kill switch for Rasputin, courtesy of Sinister. That's when Xavier turns off all of her pain receptors, and he takes Rasputin out of the fight. And with her mutant abilities, Charles really has to blow her head clean off. While this is happening, Mother Righteous kinda laughs. While she was trapped inside of there, she worked out a way that she could dissolve the other her in the white hot room. And Charles knows that she's gonna try some kind of betrayal. But right now, he assumes that she's too depowered because of her attempt at dominionhood, that she's just drained. Knowing that Mother Righteous is more than likely going to betray them, Charles Xavier stuns her. He puts her down, and he brings No Place X directly to Krakoa, calling out to Orchis, letting them know that he has come to make a deal, that there is a standing order for Stasis's wife. Charles is saying that he is willing to give her up, to use her as a bargaining chip so that he can have a one-on-one with Omega Sentinel. That's what brings us to Charles and Omega Sentinel. Omega Sentinel is more curious than anything on why Charles is here, and this is where he really professes he knows that they're gonna lose. He knows the AIs are moving against the humans. He could have warned them and they could have had a war against the machines. All he wants is for mutant kind to be spared. All they need is their island, and they'll build up defenses. Let mutants live, and let humanity burn. In the end, this is the one thing that they have never tried. And if you don't believe him, you can ask Moira. AI and mutants versus humans. The two futures versus the past. And what he would do in exchange for this. Charles Xavier says that he will work exactly what they need him to do. At the end of the day, he is the ultimate Sentinel. As we pick up in the Atlantic Krakoa, the white hot room, we have the five that are resurrecting Rachel. As she comes to consciousness, we find out that Charles killed her. But everybody in this room already knew. Destiny, Exodus, Hope, all of them knew. And so obviously, Rachel's a little ticked off. Everybody knew that Charles was going to try to kill Moira, except for Rachel. But right now, Rachel's got to focus on other things. They need her to kickstart the Phoenix. They have to defeat the Dominion. And Rachel going on to say she just really wishes Charles didn't lie to her. But she has a few ideas for the Phoenix. While they head off, we pick up with Nimrod. A gateway opening up, and Omega Sentinel is giving the order to Charles. Find any of them with the slightest thought of rebellion, any Orchis scientist. They are to be purged immediately. Sending the information to Nimrod. Nimrod fires, with the human leaders beginning to get organized. She tells Charles to do something about that. What he does is add a cognitive drain on all of them. Not enough to get them replaced, but enough to render them useless. As we hop over to Moira and Enigma, Moira is filling him in on what Charles is doing. He is selling out humanity for the mutants. Even she is in disbelief. This is when Enigma says no, that Charles knows about me. He hasn't talked about that, so he must be up to something. He tells Moira to stay away from him. When asked why Enigma isn't asking him, he tells Moira that he distrusts him, but they will win. He has seen the future, but this is beginning to make him think about all the things he may not be able to see. Taking us over to Hope. She is speaking to mutant kind. They have resurrected every warrior that has been killed. Anybody who can fight. Anybody that is ready to get back into the fray. It's also worth noting that we have Prodigy and the others here from Dead X-Men. Rasputin herself has also been resurrected. Krakoa currently being hunted down. The core of Krakoa leaving the island. Now Apocalypse is carrying it home. This is where Sinister comes in, because he was also resurrected, still having Doug's X gene. The Krakoa here in the room, and the Krakoa there on Earth, they are still connected. Before he can get any more of this information out, Rasputin grabs him by the throat and she tries to kill him. Rasputin going off on how he colluded with Xavier and did all of this. Sinister finding it funny, welcoming her to the X-Men because getting screwed over by Professor X, that is the experience. But he also tries to let her know that now's not the time, that he actually believes he can get them home, that you guys can all draw straws at the end of the day and figure out who's gonna kill me. But right now, we have something to do, with Rasputin staying her hand. We pick up on Krakoa Earth, Apocalypse having Krakoa in tow, dragging the core along. He has Sentinels in pursuit. They are chasing him down, but as flowers begin to bloom on Krakoa, the petals open up, and every single flower holds one of the X-Men, with them coming out to defend both Krakoa and Apocalypse. We pick up with Charles and Omega Sentinel. They discuss how many people Charles has had to kill, how many he is going to be complacent in killing. Omega Sentinel also lets Charles know that your X-Men are attempting to destroy the solar weaponry aboard Sentinel City. If they succeed, they're gonna need another way to take down humanity. Charles Xavier has a plan B, and that is the nuclear codes. Picking back up on Krakoa Earth, we have Exodus just destroying Sentinels, refusing to lose Krakoa again, filled with rage, directing it directly at Orchis. The truth is, this battle doesn't necessarily mean much. The battle against Orchis, this is nothing. This is small potatoes in comparison to what is on the horizon. As we pick up with Mother Righteous, her maximum security cell in Orchis. This is where Enigma comes to her, as she begs for her life. She says that she will tell him anything he wants to know, and she does. Now, the Enigma had gone to great extent trying to wipe the Phoenix off the table. The Enigma was successful in doing so, but now with all the dimensions Moira's that have opened up, he might be able to take down the Phoenix. Do it once and for all, because the Phoenix is the one thing that can take down a Dominion. Not wanting to take the risk, Enigma puts out a call to all Dominions. To all of them. He reaches out to every Dominion in existence, or out of existence if you will, and he is letting them know that they are trying to resurrect the Phoenix. Now, Enigma had arranged for the Phoenix to die. In a natural order of things, eventually, the Phoenix would die out of existence. That is, death and rebirth one day would eventually stop. He orchestrated it just perfectly so that the Phoenix went out of existence as he came into existence. But now the mutants are in the process of trying to resurrect it. A monstrous cosmic power that has the potential of hunting them down one by one. Enigma says no more. As he waits for the response, we see the body of Jean Grey, and we begin to see the flickers of fire. The fire growing and growing until it completely engulfs her. And all other Dominions replying to Enigma, they let him know that if the Phoenix returns, they will all come. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we have the Phoenix Reborn. The Phoenix's beginning. and it is time for the Phoenix to feed. But not like before. No, this time is different. This is where the Phoenix begins, where the flame of hope grows. The Phoenix is Jean Grey, and Jean Grey is the Phoenix. But the Phoenix is not just Jean Grey. The Phoenix is taking us to the waiting room, or all the mutants from the waiting room. Every mutant that was in heaven, the one created by the Scarlet Witch, they have been sitting here waiting to become part of the Phoenix. On this day, resurrection ends, and the Phoenix begins. Every mutant soul burns in the Phoenix. Feathers and wings beyond comprehension, and the talons of a truly focused totality of mutant kind itself. The Phoenix is every mutant, now and forever. Absorbing all the mutants in the waiting room, Jean Grey and the Phoenix take off to face the Dominion. And it doesn't take long for him to show his face. But the Phoenix quickly finds herself outnumbered. All the Dominions have descended from overspace. Enigma, with all of them, they plan to end the Phoenix. And Jean stands before them, ready to fight every single one of them if she must. But this is where things go sideways for Enigma, because all the other Dominions, they turn their backs on Enigma. The way that the Dominions see it, they're past all this petty warfare, all this squabbling, all of this linear thinking, having fear of something. And they let him know to truly become a Dominion, it means escaping all of this. When all other possibles are you, how can you fear them? Choosing to return to war and genocide. This means continuing to see others as others rather than possible sames. What they're telling Enigma is that you may become a Dominion, but you haven't ascended as you properly should have. They let Jean Grey and the Phoenix know that we wish you no harm. You are now and forever. And they are outside of that. There is no overlap. So any actions you take to defend your domain, it's acceptable to all Dominions. As they get an audio saying we will see you soon, never, and always, the Dominions take off. And this is where Enigma is now on the run. Now this is what takes us to Professor X. He has made his way into the enemy's nesting. He is at Orchis HQ. He has finally met the person that he has done all of this for. He finally runs into Moira. He tells her that he is here to open her mind, that if they're gonna talk, it should be something more suitable. With Charles psychically connecting to her, she believes at first this shouldn't be possible. She's a robot, that he shouldn't be able to do a telepathic takeover, that he can't even project. She has defenses in place for all of this. But he lets her know that this isn't a takeover. This is what he calls a signal, that she is more than free to leave at any time she chooses. But she is a thinking creature and touched the astral plane. A long time ago, he had left a beacon in her, one that he could guide this message to her. He wants her to remember what happened. And she already knows. Charles came to kill her. He had even pulled the trigger. But at the end, he let her live. He was convinced to follow another route, one that had convinced him to really believe and have faith in her better nature. He told himself that this was unlikely, but still he finds himself right here at this moment. And so as their conversation continues on, we pick up with Jean and Enigma. As Jean is fighting him, trying to find him throughout time, Enigma is hiding anywhere he can. Now Jean is the Phoenix. The Phoenix is Jean, now and forever. They're like planets orbiting. Sometimes they're very close, sometimes they're far away. At the time of the Phoenix's birth, these two are as close as they can possibly get to one another. Jean can move out of time, but thanks to Moira, Enigma is out of more times. They could possibly kill him if they could find him. All he really has to do is ensure that she is gone. And so he does small things like strengthen her parents' will, not let her go to the school. But Jean notices this and she changes it. This is all a cat and mouse game. Enigma's going through time trying to change things in Jean's life, and Jean is able to pick it up just in the nick of time and reverse it back to how it was. but it's only gonna take one mistake to change everything. One small thing that Jean doesn't catch, and her life is altered forever. As we hop over back to Professor Xavier, he lets Moira know that I knew you would join Enigma. I knew your nature, I knew what you would do after you learned everything that you did learn. But he also knew that if he could find a way into Orchis, if he could join the enemy, then maybe he could get back to her. Maybe there was a chance to turn her around, to change her. And of course, Moira, she's hesitant to even accept this as an idea. She has finally escaped her fate after all of these tries. Now, Charles is asking her to go backwards. But Charles asks her to consider. This Dominion has grown from Sinister. It is Nathaniel Essex. This is the man that you will be making king of the universe. Now you must ask yourself, can you stand idly by and enable this? Can you sit by his side while he does everything that he is going to do? Do you have the conscience to live with this forever? Because that's exactly what's gonna happen. And even if Moira wanted to do something, she says that she couldn't, that Enigma would chew her up and spit her out. But Charles lets her know that there is an option. Right now, Jean is fighting him across all that there ever was and will be, but she is unable to land a blow because she can't find him. He tells Moira that if you activate the signal that he put in her brain at 13 years old, Jean will be able to find you. That everything he has done, the murders, the betrayal, colluding with Mother Righteous to understand the Phoenix, to understand it enough to put all of this together. He has done it all to be here at this moment, to ask Moira to be a better person. And Moira simply wanted to live, to not be trapped. Asking Charles why he really is doing all of this. He says at the start of this, he believed in Moira. She took them to Krakoa, and for a while that place was wonderful. This all came from Charles believing in Moira, and he is able to convince her. Moira sends out the signal to Jean Grey, telling Jean to come and get her. In a matter of moments, the Phoenix arrives and we see Moira burned to a crisp. With Moira taken out of the picture, Enigma must face the Phoenix one-on-one. A face-to-face brawl. But it doesn't matter how powerful Enigma is. He is only one, and the Phoenix, she is the X-Men. This is where we see the spirits from every X-Men that was in the waiting room, every X-Men that was absorbed into the Phoenix. They come forth and they dominate. Enigma had seen every situation and he believed that he had won. But this never happened before. This doesn't happen. He thinks maybe he can hide, that he can get away. But this is the end of Enigma. As the Phoenix drives Wolverine claws right through the skull of Enigma. The claws of the Phoenix herself. The talons that are a weapon of devastating amounts. This is what dropped this Dominion out of existence. And so with the return of Jean, everybody celebrates. The day has been won. Enigma has been defeated. Jean immediately going into the arms of Cyclops, grabbing hold of him and kissing him. Rasputin still around and looking to end Sinister's life. Nobody knows where he is. Destiny saying that he's elsewhere, but not to worry, because he will get his in due time. As we pick up 1 week later, we pick up with Charles Xavier sitting on a bench. He sits and he waits for the arrival of the cavalry. He knew that they would come as soon as he showed his face again. Guns drawn, Professor Xavier is taken into custody. This is what also takes us to an unknown timeline. Now, New Krakoa still technically exists. It exists in the White Hot Room. There are 200,000 mutants there that are starting a new Krakoa over. Maybe this time they can actually have a nation of peace. Enigma's fragments have been scattered across all reality. Really, this is just the Phoenix dicing up Enigma and spreading him as a message to anybody that might ever threaten them again. But this timeline that they're showing us, this is Moira. The moment that her mutant gene is supposed to activate, it doesn't. Moira is finally free. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Man, was that one heck of a story. So I think what they're really telling us is that Resurrection's done. Now, we still technically have the 5, so Resurrection's still technically on the board, but there's nobody left in the waiting room. The mutant heaven is now empty. So anybody that hasn't been resurrected or anybody that is not in the white hot room with those 200,000 plus mutants, we can consider them permanently gone, at least until somebody decides to do something with fancy writing and maybe bring back Resurrection in some whatever. So it looks like it's possible we're not going to see someone like Tarn the Uncaring, which is a big disappointment for me. But I think my predictions came out right. You know, they really amped this up as the end of Krakoan era coming to an end, but it's still hugely important moving forward in the overall story. There's still New Krakoa. That place still exists with 200,000 mutants trying to build a nation of peace. More than likely, this is going to come out much better than how Krakoa turned out to begin with, specifically because of the leadership no longer in play, the Quiet Council no longer being made up of Charles Xavier, Magneto, Storm, etc., etc. But we still get to see some of the mutants. Laktuka is still out there, and Arakko still exists. That place didn't just disappear. This, like I said from the get-go, this is the best way to do the story, and I'm glad they did it this way. Arakko still exists, so they can use those stories at any time they choose, use any mutant, create new mutants, have so much fun with it, have the creative freedom to do all of that stuff. But then we still have the main mutant groups, which they're moving forward with from the new series that is picking up the new era of X-Men, if you will, from the ashes. I think, like I said, I think this is the best way you could have done it. And it does look like Professor Xavier is going to be Prisoner X. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you want to get caught up on everything that is going on with this series, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It's going to get you completely caught up on everything that has been going on with the ending of the Krakoan era. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. This is very much like Patreon, joining the membership with multiple different tiers from $1 to $50, from loyalty badges to getting comics sent to your home every single month. Not only are you helping out the channel tremendously, but you're getting tons of perks in the process. Now, if you're unable to do this, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.